cut down day. I'm looking through the names, and I'm kind of thinking I'm going to kind of walk you through maybe some of the decisions they had to make with players, and I'm interested in a couple of different things that they've done here. The first off, though, when I went through my 53-man roster, I had a Ball over Willetsko, and they saw it the other way. With Ball being released, I kind of felt like that Ball at the guard had been a pretty good option for them. They've got a good group inside. They might be worried more about the tackle situations and that's where I think Awesome Richards would rather play guard than he would play tackle. But I think they're saying right now, they're like, well, no, we're okay at guard. We need you to play tackle. And so I think Awesome Richards will probably be, because with Adoga being out for several weeks, they're going to have to kind of piece that thing together. And I'm a little surprised. But I also understand, though, too, that if you watch Willetsko play in that Raider game when they were going up against the Raiders' first team defense, that he was able to hold his own. But, man, there was some times of some struggle with the one-on-one stuff and things like that. So I would have probably gone Ball myself over him, but they didn't see it that way. Ryan Flournoy over Jalen Cropper.
Mm-hmm.
And there's two guys on this roster that had limited time and came the furthest and the fastest to get back on this roster, where I thought as they're standing over there by us and not working out, I really believed, I was thinking, Flournoy, this looks like a practice squad. This looks like kind of a wasted kind of a year with him.
Mm-hmm.
Him and Deuce Vaughn. Both those guys, when you guys were at camp, were on the courts. You didn't see those guys practice at all. But those two guys, the amount of ground that they were able to cover and get themselves back on this roster, I think says a lot about them. I was impressed with Flournoy, and I'll tell you what I was impressed by. I was impressed with how physical he is as a blocker. I could see them trying to work with him and see if they can get him to do more on special teams. And, a big body that if you're going to make him active,
mm-hmm.
that they could help you that way. I don't think that Deuce Vaughn can help you much on special teams other than a returner.
Right.
The possibility there. So they're going to have to kind of work around that. But Jalen Cropper lost this job. Jalen Cropper was looking outstanding throughout practices, and then they started playing games, and then he disappeared in the games.
Right. And a couple fumbles too.
Yeah, he was the guy that you felt like that was going to make this team. If you were going to carry 6 receivers, he was making a push to be that 6th guy. Well, now he's probably looking at a practice squad spot if he doesn't get claimed. I mentioned Vaughn. You look at Malik Davis. Everybody was talking about, there was a lot of wringing of the hands and stuff about Malik Davis. Why is Malik Davis? Why are you carrying a special teams guy? Why is he not, why are you going to carry him as the 3rd guy? Well, ultimately he gets waived because of the special team stuff was probably not what they needed from him. Not good enough to where they needed him to be. And so, when they look at that, I'm hearing some whispers that he might not even come back on the practice squad. That's how far.
I mean, he did. What did he? I don't understand what he does.
I know. I understand too what you're saying, but that I was kind of
makes perfect sense that he wouldn't be on your practice squad or on your team at all.
Yeah, the fact that Span Ford, the tight end, made it. This one might be more about, and he made it over Fant. And if you didn't have Hunter Lipke on this team, Fant might be that guy. The Hunter Lipke type of a player. But Span Ford, they put a lot of guaranteed money in him for a rookie.
$250K.
Yeah. And I bet you they were worried about putting him on the street and maybe getting him back because they probably competed against a lot of teams to get him in the first place.
Yeah.
What are his strengths as a player?
He's supposed to be a blocker.
He's supposed to be a blocker, and there are times where he is not that. I think they're betting on, we don't want to put him out there and him be gone, and then we missed, and then all of a sudden he develops. They're going to. I will say this. I believe he's the 53rd player on this roster, though. Right now, I would say that him and Wheat are probably the two guys, 52, 53 there. But I was expecting a big time blocker, and he wasn't always that. He's not the best pass catcher you have. This could be more about keeping him around because they're worried that if they put him out there and he's gone, he'll develop, and they want to be the guy that develops. I'm surprised about Rodgers, the defensive tackle, being put out on the street. And this is more about Joseph. But, Mozzie Smith, if you look at the defensive linemen of the tackles, of the 4 tackles you have, he's the 4th guy. But Rodgers, this one will be interesting. And we always say, well, they put him out there and they all come back, and maybe they will. But Rodgers, to me, if I was watching tape of this team, I would, hey, there's a big body guy with some range, with some pass rush ability. For a 7th round pick, I think you could do a lot worse for him, but he could be a rotational player for you. So they're probably holding their breath on that one. I had Julius Wood on this team, the safety, and I don't know if you'll get him back. Somebody will look at him and say, here's a guy that's physically very tough. He tackles well. If people had some really good film from him or reports from his college days at East Carolina, they might circle back and say, wow, we like this guy. His pro tape is pretty good. I thought he would be the 5th safety just because he could play special teams for you, make up for some of these spots where you don't have a lot of special teams players, especially in the running back room. Royce Freeman, I thought, showed well for a veteran guy. I was surprised that he got let go, but people are saying, well, hell, he's a better version of Zeke, and it might be true there, but they're going to keep Zeke, and so Royce Freeman gets knocked out. I mentioned Wheat over Lawson. I keep an eye on Muhammad, who is also in this mix. They didn't have to do anything with him because he's suspended for 1 game. But if you told me of the 3 guys that played the other day, power rank Wheat, Lawson, Muhammad, I would say Muhammad, Wheat, Lawson would be how I would power rank that group. So they kept Wheat for a reason. Maybe when Muhammad gets back after the 1 game, they might flip that around.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see if that goes. And the last guy I want to kind of talk about is Buddy Johnson, the
Oak Cliff's own.
Yeah, Buddy Johnson. And I think the thing with Buddy Johnson, he's just, to me, when you watch him, there's a guy with size, there's a guy with range, there's a guy with toughness, there's a guy that tackles well, there's a guy that's very physical. That kid right there made the team because of all the things that I said. You don't mainly give rookie linebacker free agents much of an opportunity but here they are rebuilding their room. Buddy Johnson, he bullied his way onto this 53-man roster the way he played. And so it got very evident that once we got down to the final preseason game that this kid had a shot to make this team, because every time you watched him on tape, that he was doing a much better job and then some of the other linebackers that had the opportunity. I think it's unfortunate that the Nick Vigils and guys like that, Willie Harvey, yeah, those guys had opportunities, but Buddy Johnson clearly outplayed all those guys, and he's very deserving of that spot on the 50.